Okay, so with that section done, now we're going to move in now with the buff. So we've got a little bit of XF57. So we're just going to walk it along the higher areas. So we're just going to be quite sparingly with this now. These nuts. Is that looking?
Cool. Yeah.
Good. Right, and now we're going to pick out the textured areas.
The islands.
The islands.
Yeah.
Looks like it's in a swamp.
Yeah, I've just dusted it a bit over the brown, to be honest, just to blend it all in. Just a real light coat, just to, like, Phil's doing this, but this is, again, all base layers, especially with this groundwork, for what we're going to put on top of it. So we're just, you know, building this up for the next stage. Again, it's all layering, so...
Here we go.
That'll do. Looking good. Just whack a bit over these rocks here, because I'm going to pick them out later on. That'll do. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Super duper.
Nicey.
I mean, you've got to think, right, hold on. Because there's no point painting it, because you're not going to see it.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. And obviously, we're going to put pigments on it. So if you've got the plane there, all right, give or take, that's where it's going to sit. So you can think, all right, that bit probably there, bit around these front corners. Perhaps a bit round here, but really sparing laying again. Just kind of hit these real top edges. Just that corner needs a bit of paint in it. Hit that top corner as well with some.
Right, okay.
That's all a bit, I don't know what's in there.
Right, okay, we'll sort that. Okay, so this is buff now going on here. So, and it hasn't been changed or anything. So we're just hitting rocks and top edges and things. All right.
Yeah. Got a lot of good colour deck tannins, don't you?
Okay.
Yeah. Just pull it a little bit on that.
Not here.
Yeah, just round there, just a bit. I do. Just to join that up.
Yes.
But yeah. Good on cam.
That's good.
Yeah.
Look at that. Impressed.
Good.
So yes. So there we go. There you go. Gives you a little bit more of a feel of it. So yeah.
So that's pretty much all the base coat for the paintwork done.
Yeah.
So next step, I think what we will do is, because I was just thinking on cam, and we've been saying the problem, obviously, if you're using a black undercoat or rear dark, it does tend to suck everything in. So what might be an idea is actually, I'm just thinking, instead of spraying that, is dry brush. Get a bit of the acrylics, mix up some of that, and just give it a light tickle over the top of the grass. The stones are going to pick out individually, which is a tedious job, but actually it works. It needs to be done.
Yeah.
Just to pick them out. Now I'm thinking just a bit of a light dry brush, not on the tufts, but on them, because that's pretty sturdy. It'll take a dry brush,
right?
Just to brighten it back up a bit, because it has just been sucked in a bit. It's gone in a bit. Yeah.
Right. No problem. We will grab some of that.
We need some acrylic paints anyway, because I need to be painting some of the stones.
And then we'll do.
So really, I bet you want me to do that.
Yeah, you've got the steady hand. So what we do next, we'll get that done, dry brushing, we'll get the stones done and the bits and pieces on there. Right.
Right, okay, so all the base coat painting's down. Next job is the fun part, is to paint all the stones, or most of them. What we're going to do is pick out certain stones, different colours, just again to be a bit more contrast and a bit more interest to the scene. So I've got...
Press 2.
I need one of these. I've got kind of a palette going, so I've just done a bit of dry brushing of the green as well, just to brighten the tops up. So hence these colours here, which was just flat green and flat yellow, which are these two Vallejo colours. All right, and then we've got sort of buff colour. We've got what we got in here, Phil?
We've got lots.
We've got dark grey. We did have a white, but it was a bit light, so we're going to just mix
basalt grey,
basalt grey,
sky grey, a bit of white.
Yeah, so just a few natural colours, shall we say? All right, we're going to mix them on the fly as well, just to get different tones and variations. So we'll use a bit of a dark grey first. All right. So usual thing.
So this is all just mixed with water as well, isn't it?
Yeah. This is all Vallejo mixed with water.
Do you want to press number 2? Sorry, number 3. Number 3. There we go.
All right. So we'll do and pick out some of these stones. So what we're going to do is, try and keep it a bit random. I always say, which is always a bit difficult.
I think that's the trouble with.
Yeah.
Genetically, we're flawed as humans of trying to make things into order.
Yeah.
And stuff. So trying to keep it as random as nature does it.
Yeah.
There's that old adage, isn't it? There's no straight lines in nature.
Yeah, exactly that.
Which it's very, very difficult to keep.
Yeah, exactly that. But once you get in the flow, it's actually quite therapeutic. If you put like your music on or a podcast or something, and it soon flies, and you get quite good results, and do little sections at a time. So we'll pick out a bit of a buff colour now. Now you don't have to pick out every stone, but you should pick out certain ones just to break up the... you could dry brush this as well, but I actually quite like painting stones. How sad. Pick up a bit of brown as well. Knock that back a little bit, it's a bit vibrant.
Again, this is from my point of view of a newbie totally into this, not understanding it or seeing it. I always thought that you would literally use the colours you've got. So like the rocks you've got, you would use those. I didn't think for a minute you actually just paint the entire thing black and then go again.
Yeah.
But it's actually what's giving you all the shadows naturally.
Yeah.
By having that dark colour down first and then repainting it all.
Yeah.
That way you can also create the type of look that you're actually after. So, you know, from our point of view, we've got it as a sort of European-y type looking thing.
We're looking somewhere.
But if you wanted to do it as a different environment or a different, you know, sort of area in the world and that, you could then do the same technique, but obviously you just change the colouring that you're using.
Yeah. That's it. You just alter
You're going to go for more sandy type stuff if you're in the Middle East, and obviously change the grass to something a little bit different. And yeah.
It's just good to have a few earth tones on your palette.
Mm-hmm.
You can just go and just plop a bit on it. It just highlights the stones. Again, keeping within the spectrum of the greys and the you get different colours, but you know it's then going to make it a bit more pop when you've got your your item you're displaying on there, rather than it just all blends into nothingness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll carry on for the next 15 days painting stones,
pebbles,
painting pebbles.
Yes.
And then we'll come back, and then we could probably move into the latter stages, which is then going to be what we're going to use your new wash, shall we? The thick wash, I think, which is going to be, you know, mainly down here. So what it's not got at the minute, it's got all the base colours, but it's got no dust, and that's what we want it to look: earthy, dusty, dry. Yeah. And that's where the pigments or you know, or the new flory washes are going to come in, because they are going to give that effect. So
nice.
Yeah.
You carry on.
Cheers.
Okay, so as you can see, Matt's done a fantastic job painting pebbles for the last 20 minutes. But you can see they work really, really nicely. If I zoom this down and in, here we go. So you've got nice contrasting ones amongst others, which is pretty much as it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
right?
I would say so.
That's pretty darn nice. So the base already is looking very nice as is, and you could just, you know, keep it like that, really. It looks very nice on the overhead. But what we want to do is really sort of dust it down a bit. So to do that, we're going to use the thick washes, because obviously as these dry, they dry, well, more than matte, to be very, very earthy type finishes. So for this one, we're obviously going to do a little bit of marbling type effect with it as well. So we've got a grime, which, as you know, is like an earthy colour anyway. It dries a lot lighter than it looks in the bottle, trust me. We've got a grey, obviously for lightening some of these areas, maybe these island areas, things like that. So it looks quite nice. We've got a brown, just generally for it. And also we've got the dust, which the dust we can use as the afterthought to go round. We might even airbrush that on to give a really nice dusty sort of effect to it. So first up, I think, as I say, working with the colours as you normally would, we'll start with the darkest and work our way to the lightest. So for that, as I say, the sort of base one we're going to get down in here is going to be the grime. So again, you can put it down with an airbrush, but for this case, we're going to be doing it, you know, manually. And I put my glasses somewhere. So there we go, so we can see. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to blob some of this down. And if you haven't seen this stuff before, you'll know it's not like a wash and it will just flow off. This will stick. So what we're going to do, this can cause texture, so you can get bumps and lumps and hills in it and any other areas you want it to do. So I'm just going to pop this down in the more lowery bits of the texture, if you like, that we've got here. And so this will become our base. And then once that's down, what we can do is just sort of manipulate this around again. And we've got these nice textures which we'll pick out. But we can just lightly push this. And as we know, as this dries, it will go over that blob of PVA glue. It'll crisp up. If you put this stuff down really, really thick, it may crack. I say may crack. It doesn't really. It's been designed not to crack, but it can if you put it down very, very, very thick. All right, so we can do this. And then obviously we can add pigment to this as well to really thicken this up. But as this begins to go in, it will just come around and it will dry and it will thin on all these areas. And again, it's one of those, it's going to take a little bit for this to dry. This doesn't dry like the wash, as in 10 minutes and you're good to go. This is going to take probably a good couple of hours to totally go off, because we're trying to introduce quite a bit of texture down into this. So again, but you can do it thin, and then you can build it up in layers, or you can just do a one and done. So we're sort of doing a bit of both here. Some of it's going to be quite thick in these bigger areas. And again, as it starts to dry, you can do various things to it where you can sort of poke around with it and change it a little bit. So again, we're just going to come into all these look like little islands. And again, this will be the majority of getting it down, and we can come in then with washes and airbrushes to put the wash down onto it as well, to give you a nice lighter type of effect to it. So it's starting to flow sometimes into its own areas, but this isn't like the wash. If you put the wash on here, the capillary action would just take it everywhere. It would zip off literally everywhere. So we're just going to come in into these bigger areas, and this can sit and float around nicely and do its bit. Just like that. And then some of these we're just going to take it off now, just fade it in. So I'll try not to cover all your stones, Matt.
Thanks.
You're all right, don't worry. Okay, so just before this is drying, what I'm doing is I'm just popping in now. This is with the dust coat, and this is just to give it that nice dusty look, but also to blend in those top edges with what we've done already. And just randomly spray it right over. So obviously it's giving it a nice sort of dusty look to it. And obviously it gives it another dusty type coat right over the top. And obviously with the airbrush you get a little bit more control, and you can do a little bit more swirly without having the trouble of obviously not getting, you know, marks in it and various things. As you can see, there was one just there. So we literally pop this in with an airbrush before it dries, so that way it's got time to saturate and get in amongst it. So yeah, and then what we'll do is once that's dry, we can then dry brush very lightly, get the pigment all moving onto it as well. That'll give nice textures, and then hopefully give us a nice dusty type look to it. Okay, and there we sort of have it.
Yeah,
now,
not bad for a couple of days' work.
It's not bad for a couple of days' work, is it? I will take some other shots, which you'll probably see in a minute, from different angles and that. But obviously on here it's a bit tricky to show. But there we go. That's it. Oh, done, dude. I'm amazed.
Yeah.
I'm amazed it's done it in literally, theoretically, if you take out the other bits, we've been waiting drying times on that, but we've actually done it in a day.
Yeah, we've done it in quite a quick time, really, for a base. Normally it's a lot more steadier pace, shall we say, but obviously it's, it's just to get the basics for you, see what you can do.
Absolutely. Yes.
I think it has come together actually a lot quicker and easier than I thought. I thought we'd get so far, but not as far as we have, to be honest.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So, yeah.
So, very nice. All I've done, literally, I've just popped along afterwards, and I've just used some of the, here we go, where is it? Deck tan, just to blend in these areas just round in here. It's just because obviously where the wash is darker. So then also what we've done is I've just highlighted some of these little patches on here just to make it a little bit lighter on there as well. So obviously the dust went right over it, just airbrush dust right over the top to give it that nice sort of look. With the texture stuff, to be honest, considering I thought that was a little bit gimmicky, is one of the highlights for me, because it just smells like emulsion with some sand in it, but it works really, really well.
Yeah.
It gives you that sort of, if you're doing something with cement, I'm sure if you smoothed it a bit more, you could have nice concrete features.
There's concrete, there's tarmac, there's different grades of it. I think it's got different, obviously, grades of texture, what they've put in it.
Yeah.
And it does work, and it sticks like the proverbial. It really does stick.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put it straight over the foam without the clay, if I'm honest, and it does stick. I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're going through a process of, one way of doing it, and there's
there's lots of different ways of doing it. We were just showing literally one way on here, but I think it's one of those ones where from my point of view, it's great because now I can sort of take this onward.
Yes.
And experiment with other things, knowing the basics. Because as before, obviously I get XPS foam, you sort of stick it together and all the rest of it. I've done it myself in the past with various things. But as you say, the texturing process, certainly with a static grass, how well that worked. And using the black, because I thought, literally like probably a lot of you did as well, all you technically do all your colours and then you put your grass on afterwards. So you don't repaint the grass, you have it that colour. But the big thing, obviously, you notice, when you use just the grass, it's got that nylon-y look because all the grass blades are reflective and it's very, very uniform, as you say.
I don't think the colours are great either, if I'm honest. When even if you get railroad sort of grass, I don't know, it's got that look to it that's just a bit fake, I suppose.
Yeah.
Where obviously, if you're going to paint, you can put as much variety in it as you want.
Yeah.
But again, it just opens up that.
Yes, definitely.
Different avenues you can go down in.
And again, doing it by sort of painting all the rocks and everything all in here afterwards. To say with the black, you get that nice sort of shadow effect as if the foliage is lying on the paths and stuff like that, which to try and create that would be nigh on impossible. Yeah. So, again, unless you've got clever lighting and that, but what you're doing here, there's no shadows here. So, that's, you're fooling you by making it look like there is shadows and there's various highlights and lowlights to it and stuff like that. And generally it's worked out better than I thought, to be honest.
Yeah, me too, actually.
I don't know what I was expecting, but it was it.
To say from a photo that we found yesterday, and we're going, right, we'll do that, we'll run with that.
Yeah.
It's actually looked, it's come out okay. So the other bits will really add to it when we get the figures and the trestle table and a few oil drums or whatever, and properly lay it out as we think we're going to have it, or you're going to have it, and again, it wants the side to painted as well, because obviously the sides are unpainted and it's in its frame.
Yeah,
that'll make it,
we'll get that
tie it all back in again. So.
Again, but because of the speed of this, it's all very wet. So down here at the back, for instance, we've got to glue properly down the rear piece of wood before it goes in the frame and
trim it,
sand it. There's a little bit of filling down in here as well. And generally just making it all pop and come to life. But no, thank you very much for demoing all of this and showing it. Because again, it's quite nice to learn a new trick, and now everything will be having a base.
That rocky road
vignette or a full diorama.
The dozer then now, look.
Yes, the dozer will be the next one, so that's going to be a little bit different because that's going to be on a rocky, dusty and everything. Where in here we've got, obviously down in here's hard packed, but down on the back we've got some greenery. So again,
I think more personally, from my point of view, I do need to tackle more of a wet, muddy ground. I think it's quite straightforward to do this because you're just going dark to light. But when you're just dealing with darks, because when ground's muddy and dark, and then puddles and stuff, I think that's a different challenge.
Yeah.
But again, it gives a different dynamic. So I think that, I've done a few now where, like I say, it's been quite, I'd say summer, sort of dioramas under some autumn, winter, I think, and a different, perhaps a bit of snow as well.
Yeah.
And then that just, again, put a bit of snow on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Changes it.
It changes it again. You've changed the season, you changed the look. You can have some puddles, you can have some wet spots or whatever, and
absolutely.
It's wherever you want to go, isn't it? It's wherever you want to make it. So, we did see some of these. It was some brilliant photos.
Some fantastic ones, for the Imperial War Museum. Have a look. I'll try and do the links when we do this, and I'll pop them down because we saw some of them. That there's one picture of a guy in a life raft swimming out to his plane.
Yeah,
there's a typhoon is there, and it's the pilot, and he's in a dinghy because his plane is literally flooded.
So
he don't want to get his boots wet.
Is it landing or take whichever one?
He's just going through, but you wouldn't think they would be able to land in standing water or take off in it. But he's definitely doing one or other because he's hammering through it. So
or at least wading through it to get to taking off. Whichever he's doing, it's a lot of spray. I don't know you'd actually physically pull that off, but it's very impressive.
Very, very.
And again, it just has a different dynamic to me for aircraft that are on the ground.
Yeah.
Because they can look a bit boring, I think.
It does,
and I don't mean that in disrespect to, but, I think it puts in a realistic setting, I suppose, or,
It definitely, I would say, enhances your model.
Yeah.
You know, like we said before, you could actually, if you put a mediocre model on a base, it just ups it so many times because you're sort of setting the scene with it and all the rest of it. And obviously things still to come on this one. I will weather up slightly the underside in some areas on this as well, so it matches the actual environment that's in. So we'll weather the tires and all those things. But you know, you can't really do that. You say you've got no reference to put it to. So if you need a diorama for it to tie in, and that's what I said about the bulldozer, there's still a little bit to come with the bulldozer, purely because that needs to be in its environment that it's working in. So the way you'll do that is whatever you've done to the base becomes part of the weathering on the vehicle as well. Especially in dozers next to the dust and stuff that comes up. But again, if it was mud, for instance, you'd need the mud to match and to be
you would, you've got to tie it all together, or else it does look a bit odd. But again, that's something you could do after, isn't it? You know. Yeah, definitely. But no, it's been a lot of fun. As I said before, what we've done, or hopefully will have done by now, is that all of the products we've used, we'll link it up to say where you can get it and everything else, you know, and obviously I'll do full descriptions of what we've used here as well. So it's safe to say, I think the AK texturing paste and stuff, we are going to be stocking.
Yeah, we'll have those.
So we are going to get them in, and that's going to be the first thing to do. Yeah, because now you know I've used them before anyway. Now you've used them. You know how they work. You know the potential of them. Or you know it's worth doing, and they go well with the thick wash, the normal wash, pigments, whatever. And again, if you're ever thinking about doing a little vignette, start off small. Don't get too ambitious.
No, that's it.
Because you know, there can be a lot of work.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. I think that's quite a nice size we've done here, sort of 4 scale one. You know, because obviously you could go huge, and I think you can get lost in it.
You know? It's draining. It sounds daft, but you know, there's a lot of elements to it. Again, if you get the books, there's loads of books out there. There's people who do videos. You've been watching one, haven't you? To be honest,
absolutely.
You know,
we've got one up
here. They're there. The knowledge is out there. You just got to soak it up and have a go.
Definitely. But yes, we'll be doing a lot more of these in the future, definitely. And we've got plans now for doing almost an airfield. Kind of.
I'm looking forward to that. That one's really exciting, mate. It's going to be
it's
going to be a bit of a size.
Yeah, but I think it'll be quite interesting.
I think it'll be a really interesting one. How we've planned it. I think it'll work.
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot going on with that.
Definitely. Cool. Right, okay then guys, we will leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. If you've got any questions, usual thing, shoot us a message and hopefully we'll get the answer to you, or shoot them up on the actual Q&A sections for the live shows, and hopefully we'll get you the answers you need for it. So, till later guys, thanks for watching. Happy modelling, take care. Bye.
Bye.